On the 5th floor of a cell block at the Oregon State Penitentiary, a guard makes her rounds, checking on inmates in their cells.
What's up, Sock?
It's warm, but not like it has been.
Earlier this summer, when it was over 100 degrees, walked up to the top floor. It's oppressive.
5 floors below, there's a line of wheelchairs and walkers outside the cells because the Echo Block doesn't have elevators or air conditioning. Corrections officials say neither would work in this part of the concrete prison, mostly built in the 1930s. Mike Reese, the former Multnomah County Sheriff, is less than a year into his job as the state's director of the Department of Corrections. When he started in November, he visited all 12 DOC institutions. OSP stood out.
I think this is the top priority for me in terms of looking at that replacement or remodel. I think it's time that we really have a good hard look at this institution and decide if it's the right place for us to house adults in custody, and is it also helping lead to better outcomes, or is the institution itself a barrier to a progressive correctional facility?
The Oregon State Penitentiary in Salem is the state's only maximum security prison. It houses 1,800 inmates. About 460 staff members work there. Department of Corrections leaders now have a big ask for state lawmakers: give them funding to build a brand new prison. DOC estimates it would cost $624 million to replace the state pen. The current facility already has a backlog of $110 million in deferred maintenance requests and tens of millions more for other needs. But first, the DOC wants a feasibility study, figuring out how much all of this would cost.
How much money do you continue putting into a facility, an aging facility?
Senator Janine Salmon co-chairs the Ways and Means Public Safety Subcommittee, a key role in recommending big capital investments. She knows a new state prison isn't exactly a political home run.
You recognize that in general this may be an unpopular proposition, but from what you've seen, it's needed.
It can't be something that we can continue to ignore because it will go away. It only gets more expensive.
Salmon said she couldn't rank a new state pen against other legislative priorities, like housing and homelessness. But the timing, she says, is right for a feasibility study. Director Reese, in a letter to all DOC staff members, wrote that the last big prison upgrade invited a great deal of scrutiny, and he expects OSP would be more expensive and cause similar conversations with taxpayers and representatives. But he argues that it's simple. OSP was built in a different time, and modern-day corrections have a different outlook.
It just feels like a place that is more punitive than restorative. And we want our correctional environment to be a place where people heal from the trauma that they've had, where they have systems of accountability in place that lead to better outcomes, the programming that helps people with their substance use disorders, job training programs, educational opportunities.
KGW saw some of those services, sitting in on religion and language classes, touring the legal library, counseling and job training areas. None of these spaces are accessible by elevator, which DOC says is another facility flaw. A different part of the prison is under construction for plumbing repairs. DOC lists ventilation, sanitation, and security as growing concerns. And outside, past the yard and the rec areas, there are special housing buildings for prisoners with behavioral and mental health needs. DOC says these spaces are not suited for current treatment standards, that modern facilities have space, lighting, and other advantages designed to stabilize and help inmates and reconnect them with the general population.
Why do you view this as being so pressing, so needed right now?
Well, again, we've got an aging population in custody. If we're going to meet the needs of that aging population, I think now is the time to address it, not wait till it becomes, just dire circumstances, or we're in litigation over ADA issues or something of that nature.
Data shows the average age of an OSP prisoner has increased steadily for about 20 years. It was 38 years old in 2001. Now it's 44 years old. Other states, Nebraska, Alabama, Georgia, and New Hampshire, are all in the process of building their own new state prisons. Reese has a proposal of his own here in Oregon: move the state prison to land that DOC already owns on the eastern edge of Salem, near other public safety buildings.
That would open up about 200 acres here in the city of Salem for maybe something remarkable here in terms of housing and mixed-use development.
Because you see a state pen model that could better serve everyone that's here.
Absolutely. Be a more humane place for us to house people. I don't envy the difficult decisions that our legislators have to make in these budget priorities. I will say we have a moral and a legal responsibility to care for the people in our custody, and we're going to do that in the most humane way that we can.